Caitlin Clark has added pressure to the March 10th date for the WNBA CB talks and added pressure to the WNBPA to get a deal done.
In the hyper-aggressive multi-billion-dollar world of corporate labor negotiations, there's a crucial psychological difference between a routine deadline and a weaponized financial ultimatum. For months, much of the mainstream sports media has framed the standoff over the WNBA collective bargaining agreement as a straightforward dispute about revenue sharing percentages. The narrative suggested that the players' union was calmly holding its ground, expecting billionaire ownership groups to eventually yield under mounting public pressure fueled by the unprecedented cultural impact of Caitlin Clark. The assumption was simple. Owners needed the financial windfall of the 2026 season, so the leverage ultimately rested with the players. Behind closed doors, however, where executives scrutinized financial spreadsheets rather than headlines, a far more calculated strategy appears to be unfolding. Ownership is no longer engaging in polite negotiations. It is executing a high-stakes pressure campaign designed to fracture union solidarity. Instead of treating Clark's massive spotlight as protection for players, lead power brokers are allegedly using it as a ticking clock, an urgency mechanism meant to force a concession. What looks publicly like patience may privately feel like a psychological siege. To understand the anxiety reportedly building within the Players Association, one must examine the hard logistical timeline owners have placed on the table. Media coverage often highlights the May 8 season opener as the true deadline, implying there is ample time to reach a deal. But in professional sports, the operational runway, training camps, travel coordination, broadcast commitments, arena scheduling, sponsorship activations, demands decisions far earlier than the public realizes. From the league office's perspective, the real deadline to salvage the season may arrive weeks before tip-off, transforming what appears to be a negotiation into a countdown.
NBA delivered a stark ultimatum to the players' union. A deal must be reached by March 10th if the season is to start on time, according to
March 10th. That is a true drop-dead date, and ownership is not invoking it as a scare tactic. According to league math, it represents the final logistical threshold at which operating the WNBA becomes functionally possible. More than 80% of the league's players are currently unrestricted free agents, leaving rosters effectively empty. At the same time, two new expansion franchises in Toronto and Portland, both having paid massive entry fees, do not yet have a single player under contract. Between March 10th and the May 8th season opener lies a window of fewer than 60 days. In that span, the league would need to conduct an expansion draft, navigate a sweeping free agency period requiring players to relocate nationwide, hold a collegiate draft, open training camps, and complete a preseason schedule. None of that is feasible without a ratified collective bargaining agreement. Free agents cannot sign without clarity on the salary cap. Draft picks cannot be traded without knowing designation rules. From the owner's perspective, the league is effectively frozen, and the message to players is stark. Without a deal by March 10th, roster construction collapses, arena dates are lost to other events, and paychecks disappear. Yet setting a firm deadline is only phase one of hardline corporate negotiation. Phase 2 involves a far more aggressive financial maneuver, often described as an exploding offer. Ownership understands that a standing proposal, such as a 15% revenue sharing framework, creates little urgency if it remains available indefinitely. If players believe the same deal will sit on the table in April, they have little incentive to compromise. To erode that sense of security, negotiators may introduce escalating financial consequences tied to time, increasing pressure with each passing day. Former Major League Baseball executive David Sampson has publicly described this kind of tactic as calculated psychological leverage, designed not merely to negotiate terms, but to test the resolve and unity of a labor union under mounting financial strain.
Increases, but no revenue sharing movement. If you do not accept this deal by that day, every day following.
In this framework, each passing day makes a proposal less favorable, an archetypal exploding offer, widely viewed as one of the most aggressive tools available in high-stakes labor negotiations. The concept is simple but powerful. Today's terms are the best they will ever be. If union leadership declines to sign by a specified deadline, ownership can systematically scale back concessions, lowering proposed salary cap, reducing housing benefits, or tightening minimum salary guarantees. The psychological shift is dramatic. Instead of a static negotiation between management and labor within the WNBA, the pressure becomes a race against time. Such a tactic creates asymmetrical financial strain. Star players with substantial endorsement portfolios from global brands may have the flexibility to wait out negotiations. But for role players and those dependent primarily on league salaries, even incremental financial losses can feel immediate and destabilizing. The design of an exploding offer is not merely economic. It is psychological. By introducing escalating consequences, it risks redirecting frustration inward, as financially vulnerable players may urge union leaders to accept terms before conditions deteriorate further. Former Major League Baseball executive David Samson has described similar strategies as intentionally forceful, arguing that active penalties, rather than passive deadlines, are sometimes used to accelerate stalled negotiations.
I love that strategy. I used it with players all the time. You don't want to agree right now? Your next offer is lower.
The punishment for not doing things on my time. That sentiment captures the stark power dynamic often present in high-stakes labor disputes. While public narratives may frame the WNBA as a collaborative partnership built on shared growth, critics argue that ownership ultimately evaluates the league as a commercial asset, with players functioning as contractual labor within a tightly managed financial model. The extraordinary spotlight surrounding Caitlin Clark, especially anticipation for her sophomore season, was widely perceived as leverage for the union. Many believed ownership would never risk jeopardizing a season centered on one of the sport's most marketable figures. Yet, in a hardline negotiation framework, that same spotlight can be reframed as pressure. By establishing a firm March 10th deadline, ownership signals a willingness to delay or disrupt the season if terms are not met, shifting potential public scrutiny toward the union. The message becomes strategic. If negotiations collapse over revenue percentages deemed unsustainable by ownership, players may face criticism from fans, sponsors, and media for the fallout. Simultaneously, the reported use of an exploding offer compounds urgency by tying financial concessions to time. However, negotiation experts, including former Major League Baseball executive David Samson, often caution that ultimatums carry inherent risk. If management sets a firm deadline and threatens deteriorating terms, but ultimately fails to follow through, credibility erodes instantly. In corporate bargaining, a line drawn in the sand must be enforceable. A hollow ultimatum can permanently weaken negotiating authority.
You have to follow through. Because if your child, your partner, your parent, the people with whom you work, the people against whom you negotiate, the agents, if they all believe
If a party issues an ultimatum and the other side senses even a hint of bluffing, credibility collapses instantly. That is why March 10th looms as such a pivotal moment for the WNBA. In this framing, ownership has drawn a hard line. They will not meet sweeping revenue-sharing demands. They will not assume hundreds of millions in projected losses. And they will not negotiate beyond the logistical deadline required to stage a viable season. The posture is unmistakable. Accept the framework now or risk cascading operational and financial consequences. Veteran players reportedly seeking revenue shares as high as 27.5% may soon confront the limits of their leverage if games are delayed and paychecks stop. At the center of the standoff is the unprecedented commercial surge tied to Caitlin Clark. Her impact has undeniably expanded visibility, attendance, and sponsorship energy around the league. The strategic gamble by ownership, as critics describe it, is a willingness to pause even that momentum rather than concede long-term structural economics they view as unsustainable. The question is whether applying escalating pressure through firm deadlines or an exploding offer approach constitutes disciplined negotiation or overreach that could fracture trust and damage the league's growth trajectory. Historically, labor disputes in major leagues show that brinkmanship cuts both ways. Owners may calculate that short-term disruption protects long-term equity, while players may believe that unity preserves bargaining power. Whether solidarity holds often depends on financial resilience across the roster, public perception, and each side's tolerance for risk. What is clear is that credibility, once lost, is difficult to recover, making any ultimatum a high-stakes move for everyone involved.